Shalom. I'd like to start out by giving all glory, praise, and honor to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Ruach Double honors to the elders and apostles of the Great Millstone, and Shalom to the elect of Israel. This is the Mayim in Atlanta, and I've got this CBS News article pulled up. It's been going around through different news networks saying this recently, and a few brothers have done lessons on this, but it says U.S. birth rate hits all-time low, CDC data shows. And the brother Yaquab dropped, maybe not this article, but a similar article into the chat the other day. So, the water. But it says the fertility rate in the U.S. dropped to an all-time low in 2024, with fewer than 1.6 children being born per woman. Federal data released Thursday shows. And the point of no return, Thawada, to the brother Abba in her group, he was saying that 1.5, and he showed the Chat GPT data on it, 1.5 marks the point of no return. So you can see this devil is dying, because this is speaking to Edomite numbers. Edomites are this so-called self-proclaimed white man, including the small hatters. And their society, their world is dying. And you can see that through their low birth rates. It's all to their own doing in the first place, because they've told women to go off and go to college and start careers when really they should have been at home having babies. They've also pushed monogamy, which makes no sense as far as having babies go. The Lord said to go forth and multiply. But monogamy is the worst way to do that. Men are supposed to have multiple wives, especially Israelite men. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But moving on, because the devil ain't going to learn. We're going to have to show him how it's done. But it says the U.S. was once among only a few developed countries with a rate that ensured each generation had enough children to replace itself. About 2.1 kids per woman. But it has been sliding in America for close to 2 decades, as more women are waiting longer to have children or never taking the step at all, which are just wasted bodies. This new statistic is on par with fertility rates in Western European countries, according to World Bank data. Alarmed by recent drops, the Trump administration has taken steps to increase falling birth rates, like issuing an executive order in February meant to expand access to and reduce costs of in vitro fertilization, and backing the idea of baby bonuses that might encourage more couples to have kids. And all this in vitro fertilization, that comes from having an environment non-conducive to having children, with both the economy and just the pollution, the microplastics, and everything that's out here. It's just the devil doesn't need to be in charge to have a thriving world. This White House staff secretary Will Scharf remarked to reporters at the time that in vitro treatments have become unaffordable for many Americans, or been unaffordable for many Americans. Health insurance companies aren't required to cover IVF, Salakia, I feel like I got a fat tongue today, which can cost tens of thousands of dollars. But there's no reason to be alarmed, according to Leslie Root, a University of Colorado Boulder researcher focused on fertility and population policy. We're seeing this as a part of an ongoing process of fertility delay. There's no reason for them to be delaying fertility. These women should be married off 14, 15 to an established male, just like it speaks of in the scriptures. Mary, the mother of Yahushua, or what this world calls Jesus, was in her early teens when she had Yahushua. That's how things are supposed to go. They're not supposed to start careers and have all these choices that they have. They're here for reproduction and to mother homes and to guide homes, not to be career women, is silly. And then above all, this isn't something they're even looking at. Why'd you give them you gave them all these rights, and now you're having these consequences to it. You weren't supposed to do that. You did this to dig a pit for Israel, but now Esau is falling into it. Israel being the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. But Esau's falling into their own pits. So we're seeing this as part of an ongoing process of fertility delay. We know that the U.S. population is still growing, and we still have a natural increase, more births than deaths. She said the U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention released the statistic for the total fertility rate with updated birth data for 2024. In the early 1960s, the U.S. total fertility rate was about 3.5, but plummeted to 1.7 by 1976. After the baby boom ended, it gradually rose to 2.1 in 2007 before falling again, aside from a 2014 uptick. The rate in 2023 was 1.621, but inched down in 2024 to 1.599, according to the CDC's National Center for Health Statistics. Factors in the continuing decline: birth rates are generally declining for women in most age groups, and that doesn't seem likely to change in the near future, said Garen Guzzo, director of the Carolina Population Center at the University of North Carolina. People are marrying later, and there's no incentive for men to get married nowadays because of how skewed everything is towards women. A woman can completely ruin you through this. And also worried about their ability to have money. This economy is weak, and prices keep going up for goods, but wages don't increase with it. This is health insurance and other resources needed to raise children in a stable environment. And overall, the wicked are bearing rule, which makes the people mourn. This is not a good environment to bring in kids or to raise them. The future is dark. And they're expecting to keep the rates up, but it's just not going to happen. You can't correct this. Which they will try, because you're seeing, on the other side of this, you're seeing these white communities coming up as they're doing out in Arkansas. I forget the name of it. I was actually just looking it up, but this white-only community in Arkansas is called Return to the Land. They're setting up all white town in Arkansas. This is to preserve themselves, but there's nothing that they can do. They're the people destined to fall, and it's because of their ways. And this is one of their ways showing its head in which it's wrong. And they've pushed this onto all of the world. Japan, Korea ate this up. And it makes no sense. The Lord said, go forth and multiply. And they're like, all right, well, let's stop it. Let's slow that down because the earth's overpopulated. So they put in all these plans of depopulation and to hold the population back, and now it's coming to bite them. Going back, but yeah, there's this community is a trying to answer, or it's trying to be a solution to these low birth rates, to have their own community. That way their women can't go off and sleep with Jake, reproduce with Jake or somebody of another nation. They also tried the Roe versus Wade, overturning that so that Edomite women will have more babies. But you know what you got to do. And it's removing this liberty, but that's not going to go back. You're not going to be able to put that back in the bottle after these women are so used to it. It's going to require complete and total collapse. And that collapse, Esau comes out of power. And so it's just not going to happen on his watch. But your numbers will increase in the kingdom because we're going to need people to make big rocks into smaller rocks. We're going to need people to pick the cotton in the fields and to pick all of our goods and to bring in all of the gold from the other nations. We're going to need you, Esau, to build up the kingdom. So we're going to force you to breed because y'all don't like each other. Edomite men and Edomite women do not like each other. That's why their birth rates are so low. And they tried to make us not like each other, the Israelites, but when we're oppressed, we breed. But getting back to the article, it says the things that they are doing are really symbolic and not likely to budge things for real Americans, she said. The CDC's new report, which is based on a more complete review of birth certificates and provisional data, released earlier this year, also showed a 1% increase in births, about 33,000 more last year compared to the prior year. That brought the yearly national total to just over 3.6 million babies born. But this is different. The provisional data indicated birth rate increases last year for women in their late 20s and 30s. However, the new report found birth rate declines for women in their 20s and early 30s. No change for women in their late 30s. What happened? CDC officials said it was due to recalculations stemming from a change in the U.S. Census population estimates used to compute the birth rate. As Plausible Root says, as the total population of women of childbearing age grew due to immigration, it offset small increases in births to women in those age groups, he said, or she said. But I also want to come over here to ChatGPT because I asked it about what happens. I said, low birth rate leads to being conquered. And it says, yes, a persistently low birth rate can leave a nation vulnerable to being conquered, not always by military force, but in several serious ways. One, military weakness. You're going to have smaller population, which equals fewer soldiers to defend the country. Nations with shrinking youth populations struggle to staff their armed forces. Example, South Korea is reducing its army size as its birth rates plummet. Dangerous with North Korea next door. Number two is aging population equals national fatigue. So older populations are less likely to support war efforts or national defense. Energy, risk-taking, innovation, and physical capability decline. An aging society becomes more focused on healthcare, pensions, and survival, not sovereignty. Oh, and also going into energy, because testosterone rates have fallen significantly as well. I'm not talking about the aging population, but within younger men, testosterone rates have fallen as well, and that also goes into these low birth rates. But getting back to this, it says number three, demographic takeover or a soft conquest, and this is kind of what we're watching happen in Europe because they've been bringing all these immigrants in because of their low birth rates. It says foreign populations may replace native ones if immigration becomes the main source of population growth. Over time, this can shift the culture, language, religion, and values of a nation without a shot fired. Examples, in parts of Europe, immigrant populations now outpace native births, reshaping schools, laws, and social norms. Number 4, economic collapse, loss of independence. Countries with collapsing workforces become economically dependent on others for labor, goods, technology. They can be bought, manipulated, or coerced by more powerful nations. Global irrelevance. And this is really happening to the Edomites. They are losing their significance. It says when a country's population shrinks, so does its global influence. Others may ignore its diplomacy, exploit its resources, withdraw alliances. A weak, declining population cannot protect its borders, its values, or its voice on the world stage. And this is happening to the U.S. You see BRICS forming, and you see the America's words not having the amount of meaning, the significance that they used to have. Nobody's afraid of America anymore. They look at and laugh at America because it's a joke. Our men are weak and effeminate, and our women are masculine and butch and not even having babies like they should. This is a shameful way to go out, but America is going to go out in a shameful fashion because of all the wickedness that they've done. And it's good for America because America pushed these things. They pushed feminism. They pushed men taking a step back. They pushed female equality with men. That's all antagonistic to the Lord's ways, and it's satanic, trying to put the woman over the man. Even trying to make the woman equal to the man is satanic. Satan means adversary, and this is all adverse to the Lord's ways. Go forth and multiply. And then biblical parallels down here. There are ancient examples of this principle too in Deuteronomy 28:62. A curse for disobedience is that you shall be left few in number. In which, if people could look spiritually and see what's happening with this population crisis or these low birth rates, they would see that this is a curse coming onto the world for what they've done. But they can't see that, and it's coming onto Esau, Edom primarily. First and foremost, you also see it in Moab with North Korea and Ammon as well, in Japan. You see it around the world. It's pretty much just Jake and Ham that aren't under this. Going back, it says a low population was seen as a sign of national vulnerability and judgment. Their gates are down. It says throughout Scripture, when Israel was diminished in number, they were invaded, enslaved, or ruled by stronger nations. And this is coming up for Esau, and it's coming up for the world. They're, as a whole, their numbers, their birth rates are dropping as well. They're about to be conquered by Israel once Yahushua returns. As it says, the saints shall take the kingdom. The world is ripe for the conquering. But actually, let's go to the blue letter. So we're going to start at Deuteronomy 28 and 62, I believe that was. Yeah, 62. Deuteronomy 28 and 62. And it says, and ye shall be left few in number. This was speaking to the Israelites originally. Verse 1 through 14 goes into the blessings that Israel was received for keeping the covenant. And verse 15 on down to 68 are all the curses that would come if Israel did not keep the covenant. And Israel did not keep that covenant. And so this is one of the curses that were brought onto Israel, to be made few in number. Population decrease, birth rate decrease, which left us vulnerable to be conquered. It says, and ye shall be left few in number, whereas you were as the stars of heaven for multitude, because thou wouldest not obey the voice of the Lord thy power. We were brought down, we were conquered. Our significance was taken away as well, all the way to being proverbs and bywords and something to look at, an astonishment. But we're being brought back up while our enemies are being brought low, because the Lord also said, Deuteronomy 30 and verse 7, and the Lord thy power will put all these curses upon thine enemies and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. Esau, Edom, first and foremost. The so-called white man, including the small hatters, their numbers are being brought low. And then, according to Psalms 83, all the other nations are our enemies, and these curses are falling onto them too. They will be completely on them within the kingdom of heaven, within Yahushua's kingdom, the kingdom of Israel. But they're slowly starting to fall onto them. And they're being made less and less significant each day. And they're also suffering more and more deaths. With Esau, you see all these ODs that they're doing, and then the fentanyl crisis. They're losing a lot of people, and also through self-deletion, they're losing a lot of people, and especially as Esau loses more and more power, he can't stand being in a low state, and he's trying to self-delete. These are all going into their populations collapsing. It's going to happen. We're just putting all these curses onto them, and there's nothing that they could do about it to not have these curses come on them. They're not going to be able to remove their necks from the evil that the Lord is bringing on them. And it's because you touch the apple of the Lord's eye, the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. And you pushed your wickedness all around the earth. You've taught other people to sin. You've brought countless wars. You've destroyed the earth, and you're going to destroy it more. You're going to keep doing more until Yahushua removes you from power. But so this is a good thing for you, Esau. Obadiah 1 and verse 2. Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. Thou art greatly despised. This goes into both their numbers and their significance. This is Strong's. So the word small, Strong's H6996. Quatan, Slakia. It's young, small, insignificant, unimportant. That's what the Edomites, who have been the king of the hill on the world stage, they've been the big guy, the man, but now they're being made, their numbers are dropping and their significance is dropping. They're unimportant to everyone. They're the reason for people's declining birth rates. The world is not overpopulated, it's just mismanaged. So they've pushed around this overpopulation stuff, but it's really, the earth isn't bringing its fullness for them because it's under the wrong rulership. Or not wrong, because the Lord set them up, but it's an example of how not to rule. And so the earth is not bringing its fullness and can't support high numbers like it should be able to. We're going back to Obadiah 1 and 2. Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. Thou art greatly despised. And they see this, trying to make corrective measures and trying to bring to do their own little communities so that they could keep their numbers or push their numbers higher. But it's not going to work. It's your downfall, Esau. You are about to be chased from the earth because you're wicked people. Job 18 and 17. Because none of their measures are going to, their self-corrective measures are going to work. This is their destiny, their manifest destiny. Job 18 and 17. His remembrance shall perish from the earth, and he shall have no name in the street. Your significance is waning. Your populations are waning. They're dropping. You can't bring them back up. He shall be driven from light into darkness and chased out of the world. And that's what I was alluding to. They get chased out of the world. That community that they have for whites only in Arkansas, they say that's to preserve the so-called white race, to preserve the Edomites. But this is your destiny, to be chased out of the world. Going into complete confusion. That wisdom has vanished. And you're no longer looked at as a decent individual. You're no longer looked at as significant or of any importance, you're about to be chased out of the world, you and all of you. Verse 19, he shall neither have son nor nephew among his people. And it's the males that carry the seed that allow the population to continue of that nation. But the Lord's going to cut you all completely off. Obadiah 1 and 18. You're going to be rounded up after your hardcore slavery that you're going into, after you've completed the building of the kingdom, after 1,000 hard years of hard labor. You're going to be rounded up and done away with. It's basically your salvation. This is something you could look forward to, because life here is going to be extremely harsh for you in the kingdom. Basically going to be work and entertainment. You're going to be a punching bag or a target. You're basically just going to be a target. And then after being a target for 1,000 years, after being a slave, then you'll be done away with. Your whole line, which you could think of as salvation, because Esau's always trying to say everybody could be saved, but it's like, no, the Edomites get done away with. Their line gets taken off the earth. And so, in a way, sure, you could call this salvation if you like. He shall neither have son nor nephew among his people, nor any remaining in his dwellings. Going to be completely cut off. They that come after him shall be astonished at his day, as they that went before were affrighted. Surely such are the dwellings of the wicked, and this is the place of him that knoweth not the Most High. You have a vicious judgment coming, Esau. Get ready. Enjoy your last days here. Because after America falls, each day is just going to get worse and worse. Even at this point, these curses are coming on you. So each day should be worse and worse. Prepare your mind, because y'all are falling. Lord willing, that was edifying. I'd like to give all glory, praise, and honor to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakha Kwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of the Great Millstone. Shalom to the elect of Israel. Shalom.